Been pretty quiet, the old Gold Coast Suns. They've probably look at their list and think they're in pretty good shape. Scott Clayton's the man in charge of that, and he's been good enough to join us on the show. Good morning to you, Scott.
Good morning.
Before we get stuck into the bits and pieces going on at the moment, I don't know how much of that conversation you heard us having before you came on, but do you think that might be something that clubs do? Think about trading players a year before they become free agents so that they can exercise some control, get maybe a bit more for these guys before they do become able to be the masters of their own destiny?
Oh, I think that's for sure. I mean, that's inevitable, and clubs would be doing that now. We do track when players are coming out as either restricted or unrestricted free agents. So you're continually planning years ahead. And Andrew's point's right. You're a chance to get a bit more currency a year out the when, because then you're in the throes of what the AFL will hand down as compensation.
Have you ever, in your experience, Gazy mentioned the fact that it can sometimes force the hand of a player. He commits now rather than wait and sort of test the free agency water. Have you seen a player commit to a contract for a longer term than he might have had he waited for that extra year, Scott?
I certainly think there's quite a few players that have known a year out that they've got their free agent the following year and have decided to negotiate, perhaps a more lucrative deal, knowing that they would forego that opportunity in 12 months' time. I think that's happening quite a bit.
Scott, what about, we see in the AFL that you've got minimum standards and conditions you've got to apply. In some leagues around the world, they also put maximum contracts out there. Do you think that that's something that the AFL would ever consider to say, well, let's just put in place some max deals as far as length of tenure as well as salary?
Well, perhaps that's the point now. I don't think we've ever sort of gone there before, have we?
No.
Thinking that you've got a clunk of money to spend, and it's up to the club's discretion to see how they spend it. Certainly the only thing we can go back to is the Alistair Lynch deal 10 years ago to a fledgling club, and there hasn't been anything of that length again. But I don't think I'd like to see that. I think clubs should be given the ability to spend their money the way they see fit.
Just on another broader sort of issue confronting people in your position now, Scott, how far away are we, do you think, for you guys to have the ability to trade future picks?
Well, I'd love it. I've been down that track for a very long time. The more we could get involved in that, the better. You'll know from our actions, the Gold Coast Suns, that with our establishment rules, we were very reliant on one draft pool. So it was a strategy to try and sort of spread our age demographic. So we invested heavily at the time in other teams' compensation picks for taking our players, and we sort of got back to trade those, which we were successful in doing. And we sort of have the first round for the next 3 years. This year, in the first round, next year, tied to Geelong, and then the following year we've got another in the first round. So it was one of our strategies. We worked very hard to do that. So anything that you can trade future picks, I'd love it to be in vogue, no doubt. What's
the AFL's continued reluctance about that?
I just think that I'm guessing, but I just think that they'd hate a club to trade away their future so severely that it got to a stage where that they couldn't see a way forward. So in a way, I think they might think they're protecting us from our own.
And yet they seemingly think that the Lance Franklin deal's perfectly sustainable and acceptable and responsible.
Well, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's in the rules, and they've fulfilled all the requirements there. So I'm not sure much can be done there.
Hey, Scott, we've seen this year, and has been in recent times. There's the lure of players going back to their home states has been very, very strong. I imagine in your circumstances that would be even more prevalent than some of the other teams. Do you do anything specific to try and overcome that homesickness or the lure of players wanting to go back to their home states?
So look, it's a really good question, and it is an ongoing thing. I mean, first of all, we've got to make sure that we've just got the best program and deliver, the best facilities and coaching and welfare and development for our players. So we're really mindful of our responsibility there, that no one wants to go on the back of, they don't think they're getting the actual best chance to be the best player they can. And we're all selling hope. There's no doubt about that. But from a developing state, it is an issue, and we certainly, from a contractual point of view, we certainly try and be proactive and identify the players we want and try and contract them early and continually, try and recontract them when they've got a year to go.
Talking to Scott Clayton, the Gold Coast list manager. Scott, depending on who you talk to, there seems to have been a bit of an issue with the Giants. They obviously drafted so many talented youngsters at one time, keeping them all happy. They all want to play. They've all been used to being, elite players coming through at the same time, and they've been, the P in the pod at whatever team they've been a member of. They get there all at the same time, and they just can't all be played at once. And some of them get a little disgruntled about it all, and they get a bit, shirty about what about me? And did you have an issue like that at the Gold Coast Suns? Was it a balancing act to keep all the talented youngsters that you had assembled all at the one time comfortable about the game time they were getting and happy?
No doubt, and once again, that was a strategy from our first year. We knew we had to play nearly everybody in the first 2 years. So certainly, for us to decide sort of, our core group and who was going to be, important to us going forward. So every year we find out more about ourselves, and especially now in a reducing, in a period where our list is reducing in size. We started out at 48 players, and we go back to 40 this year, back another 2. So we certainly had to play players, so they were getting some opportunity in the first couple of years, and we were finding out about them, and they were finding out about us. And the harsh reality is, I think, through those rules, it was expected that some of our players would spill to opposition clubs, and that's probably what's happened. We've deleted sort of 10 last year and 6 this year, so that Jack Martin can come up, and some of those 6, I'm sure, will find homes in the next few weeks.
Is he genuinely better than Jager O'Meara?
I'd be loath to say that. He's genuinely a very, very good player. I can tell you that. What Jager's done is outstanding. So to replicate that would be wow. And we certainly haven't seen the best of Jager. I mean, he's a 12, 14, 15-year player, and we think Jack can be the same. And
just quickly before we let you, are you doing much? Are you active in the trade period?
No, as I said before, our list is reducing in size. We've been really planned and methodical in what we're doing here. We've got 3 picks inside for the 23 at the moment before they may get pushed back a little bit with other comp picks. Part of that currency that we tried so hard to get in with triggered in the first round, and also putting Jack Martin up. Sort of last year when we put Jager O'Meara up at this point in time, we didn't get much attention, but I think people are realising now that perhaps that shouldn't be the case. So Jack will come on as well, where a lot of clubs are a bit more urgent at the moment than we are in regard to making change. But as I said, we're in our growth. We're in a period that we're really comfortable with, and it's exciting.
And we are excited about what is on the horizon, mate. Thanks for joining us. Interesting stuff. We appreciate your time.
Sure, no problem.